Okay, just like I promised earlier, I'm going to teach you today how to drape your yoke on your fabric, on your clothes, your other corset, or any other outfit without shoulder joining, like no seam line on the shoulder. Okay, now get your skin mesh, depending on the type you are using, but there are different types, and get the stretchy part to be on the horizontal axis, and make sure it is longer than your shoulder width because of the drop down sleeve we talked about. Okay, now also measure down like 14 inches. This will depend on the depth of the back, because this yoke will serve for the front and the back. Okay, now here remember that you're not going to have any joining at the shoulder line, so whatever we are going to do will serve for both the front and the back. Now fold on that 14 inches axis, fold it like so. Remember, it is the depth of the back, and make another folding horizontally. Yes, another folding horizontally. Okay, now after you must have folded the second time, give it a C-cut, like C-cut here, like I'm doing so. This C-cut is not the actual neckline, just for us to be able to make a slit at the back and get it around our dress form. Now get the center. On that part we used 14 inches length, because that will serve as our back opening. So slit it open like I'm doing here. Okay, now when you must have slitted it open, this is what you're going to have. Wrap it around your neckline like I'm doing, around the dress form. Adjust it properly so that it will lay flat on the neckline, just like I'm doing. Okay, now when you are done with that, make sure that there are no smile lines or excesses, so it has to lay flat. Now remember that the neckline is not the actual neckline we need. We are still going to cut out our neckline. This is just to help us get the net to wrap around the dress form. That is what we did here. So when we are done, we'll mark out our desired neckline and cut it out. Okay, now you adjust the mesh and hold down the back together, the center back, because this will help us control the excesses. So whatever excess we have, we are going to pin it out at the center back, and make sure you are pinning along the center of the back, so that by the time we are done pinning, it will not shift to one side. Okay, so keep pinning, you can see, and when you are pinning, make sure that you are adjusting the other parts of the yoke so that it will lay very flat on the dress form, to avoid smile lines at the end of the fitting. Okay, now pin down properly along the center line like I'm doing. Make sure you're pinning. So what I'm pinning now, you're pinning out the excesses, all the excesses, because these excesses will help our yoke to lay flat on the dress, like on the body of the client or on the mannequin. So pin out the excess. Later we'll trim out the ones we don't want. Okay, but make sure you are pinning while spreading out to get a flatter look. Okay, now go ahead and pin. Make sure it's on the center line of the back, please. This is very, very important, so that it's not after pinning you notice that your yoke is going to one side. So this is very, very important. Okay, keep on pinning whatever excesses you notice, pin it out, then turn to the front like I'm doing here. Spread out a little bit to make sure that it is also laying flat on the bust of the corset or the dress or the person you are using for your fitting. Now when you must have done that, get your pin and start pinning along the upper bust axis. Okay, this is very important. So when you hold to this side, you also hold on the other side to help you to pin easily, just like I'm doing. And make sure you are drawing it to be flat on the bust axis. Now this is what we are having. Okay, so keep on pinning. Now go to the center and pin down the center. So you continue pinning this way to pin all through the bust, all through the upper bust axis of this corset. Okay, that's what we are doing. Now after you must have done that, this is what you have, and see how flat it is laying. It's already looking like we've already fixed the yoke. Now remember, it has to be flat without any smile lines. This is very, very important, because however it is, that is how it will be on the dress when you are done. Okay, now go to the back also and continue pinning. Okay, pin like so. Make sure you're pinning like make sure that the yoke is laying over the cloth like about 0.5 inches, and pin down, so that if there's anything you can also trim out. Now pin all the way through the armhole. Okay, make sure you're pinning properly and you're drawing it out to make it flat, so that there will be no ruffles or smile lines on the yoke when you are done. So please, this is very important, because this draping will help you get your desired look. That is why it is very, very important. Okay, you may not be able to achieve this neat look when you just infuse the yoke once and for all, but this will help you to get any desired look. Okay, now when you are done pinning, remember this is where we were also going to get our sleeve extension from, like the drop down sleeve. So this excess on the skin mesh along the shoulder line. So from there we are going to mark out our drop down sleeve. You know, this kind of sleeve that drops down a little bit, that extends to the kind of film that extends to the sleeve. That's what we are going to do. Now how do you do that? Measure out okay, first of all, measure out your yoke, your neckline, your yoke neckline. So I'm going to use a fabric marker to mark it out, and all the way to the back. So whatever desired neckline I want, I'll mark it out on my yoke. So it's very important to mark, so you won't make mistakes while cutting. We need it to be very, very accurate. So I'm going to be marking out like so, just like I'm doing. Now I'm done. I will start cutting out. I'll cut out the excesses I have after the marking to give me the desired look. Okay, I'll cut all the way from the center through the side, then from the side through the back, just like I'm doing here. Okay, now when I am done, make sure to notch the center line of your yoke. It's very important. Remember, it doesn't have any joining on the shoulder, so it will not confuse you when you're fixing sleeve or whatever. Okay, now for the drop down sleeve, okay, I'm going to measure out like between 2 to 3 inches, depending on how you want it to extend. 2 to 3 inches from the shoulder line. That's where the shoulder stops. Okay, I'll measure it out just like I'm doing here and mark out. I'll repeat the same for the other side. Measure it out and mark out too. Now when I must have done that, I will make the connection from my armhole down to that point where I marked out, just like I'm doing on this video. Making the connection to that 3 inches I marked out. That will be my drop down sleeve. I'll also repeat the same for the back. Same thing I'm going to do to the other side too. Then I'll start trimming out the excesses. So it's good to mark so you won't make mistake or you won't get different looks on the two sleeves. Now trim all the way through both the bust part. Trim out all the excesses because we've already pinned down everything. So we can now start trimming out just like I'm doing here. Okay, I'll have to trim all the way through and be careful so you won't rip off your skin net. Okay, now I'll continue from there to also get that drop down curve I made on the shoulder to the sleeve. Then I'll do it round and extend to the back so you can now see what it looks like. Okay, then turn to the back and continue trimming off the excesses. On the other side too, trim off the excesses. Trim off the excesses at the back, just like I'm doing on the video. Be careful not to rip off the net, please. Okay, Now when you must have done that, make sure that it is lapping by 0.5 inches, okay, on the dress you are draping the yoke on. Now for the center back, we are going to cut out all the excesses we don't need, and I will be leaving about 1.5 inches allowance. You can use it for the hook, the pressing button, or whatever you want to use to close out the center back. So trim off all the remaining excesses there and leave your 1.5 inches for your overlap or for your closing, just like I'm doing here. Okay, that's correct. Now this is what I have. Now keep trimming out whatever we don't want here, but that's the essence of draping. If we notice there are other ruffles or smile lines, keep on adjusting and trimming up till you get what you want. Okay, now this is what I have. You can see the extension I have. This is what I need. So now we can decide to make a keyhole. Okay, let me make a keyhole shape here. Then I'll mark out my keyhole shape. So whatever inches you went in from the center back, like I'm doing here, that's what you also use on the other side. Then extend to mark out your keyhole. This is just a choice, not a must, so it depends on what kind of back look you want at the back. Now mark it out first so you get an equal look on the both sides. Then follow the markings and cut out. Okay, adjust any excesses you don't want, anything you notice, adjust them and cut it out, trim it off like I'm doing here. Then cut out the keyhole markings I made here. Okay, keep cutting, following the lines. Please, this is very important that you mark, because it will help you get a very neat look and equal curve, just like you're seeing here. Okay, take off the excesses, and here is what we have, neatly curved. You can now see the center back and our keyhole. So this is what it will look like at the back of the client when you're done draping the yoke. So it is already looking beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so this is what you have. Remember, this is a drop down sleeve. You can also decide to chop off this extension and make it a normal shoulder line. If you want to add your basic sleeve, you can just cut it off. So it's just your choice. It's your choice. Okay, now this is what you have here. Then if you want, you can, if you have a client with a bigger bust, you can also pad the bust. You can pad the dress form before draping the yoke on it. Yes, if you don't have a bigger dress form for a bigger bust, you can pad the bust. Now this is what we have. Then the next thing is to get your hand needle and thread and tack all the way through all those places you pin down. Use thread and needle to hold it all the way through. Okay, it may not be easy for you to do it on the machine, so I prefer tacking it down. Even if I'm going to sew it down on the machine, I prefer tacking it down first. Now this is what we have. Yeah, this is what we have, and I hope you love the look. Remember to notch the shoulder line, please. This is very, very important, so you won't get confused when fixing sleeves. That is if you want to fix a basic sleeve to it. It's very, very important. So I hope you learned something today. Please don't forget to like and share so that others will learn from this. Okay, and see you next time. Bye.